Okay, today we are starting Chapter 2, Real Numbers. Oh, pen. We have this, we have this, we have this, oh yeah. Okay, Lesson 2/1, Real Numbers. Name the coordinates of the points graphed on the number line. The dots indicate each point on the graph. So the answer for the coordinates are -9, this is where the first yellow dot is, -7, where the second yellow dot is, -6, the third yellow dot, -3, fourth yellow dot. Name the coordinates of the points graphed on the number line. The bold arrow on the graph indicates that the graph continues indefinitely in that direction. So the coordinates are 11, 12, 13, 14, and this side of the arrow is also yellow, so we know that it continues on indefinitely, which means that if this number line continued, 15, 16, 17, 18, and so on would all have yellow dots. Name the coordinates of the points graphed on each number line. So in the first one, we notice that the 6 has a yellow dot, the 7 does not, 8 does not, 9 does, 10 does not, 11 does, 12 does, 13 does not, and neither of the sides of the arrow do. So the answer is 6, 9, 11, and 12, written in brackets like this. B, we see that -2 does not, -1.5 does not, -1 does not, -0.5 does, 0 does, 0.5 does. What does? 1.5 does, and the arrow towards the right means that it continues indefinitely. So the answer is, in brackets, -0.5, 0, 0.5, 1, 1.5, and this ... the ellipsis, means that it continues indefinitely. Now, it says graph (1/2), (1/2), 0, 1/2, or 1/2, and 1 in brackets. So for the answer on a number line, you would put a yellow dot on the -1/2, not on the -1/4. On the 0, you would put a dot. Do not put a dot on 1/4. You would put a dot on the 1/2, not on the 3/4, and a dot on the 1. It does not say it continues indefinitely. There is no ellipsis, so you do not continue putting dots, and you do not put the yellow mark on the arrows. You only put the yellow mark on the -1/2, 0, 1/2, and 1. Now it says graph -1.5, 0, 1.5, and ... ellipsis. So the answer is -1.5. You do not put a dot on the -2. Do not put a dot on the -1. Do not put a dot on the -0.5. Put a dot on the 0. Put a dot on the 1.5. And put a dot on the arrow continuing. That signifies the ... ellipsis, which says that it continues indefinitely. Graph integers less than -6 or greater than or equal to 1. The first thing you do, integers less than -6. So here's -6. It says less than -6, so you do not put a dot on -6. You start on -7, and you also put the shade on the arrow towards the left. That means that it continues indefinitely on integers less than -6, -7, and continuing on towards the left for all integers less than -6. And then it says, or greater than or equal to +1. So you leave -6 alone, -5, 4, -3, -2, -1, and 0. Do not put any dot on. +1, greater than or equal to 1. So you put a dot on +1, +2, as well as on this arrow towards the right, meaning that it continues indefinitely on integers greater than or equal to +1. Graph each set of numbers. -5, 2, 3, 5. Answer on the number line. -5, you put a dot on. The next dot you're going to put is on +2. So you skip -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, +1. You put a dot on 2. You put a dot on 3. You do not put a dot on 4. It is not listed in the brackets. And then you put a dot on the 5. It does not have the ellipsis, the 3 dots in a row. So it does not continue indefinitely. You do not put any dot on the arrows. B, -1/4, +1/2, +7/4, +2. You do not put a dot on any of the first ones until you find -1/4. You put a dot. No dot on 0, no dot on 1/4. The next dot you put is on 1/2, right here, +1/2. Do not put a dot on anything until you reach 7/4. On 7/4, put a dot, and then on +2, put a dot. Again, you do not put anything on the arrows because it does not say that it continues indefinitely. Integers less than or equal to -2 or greater than +4. So it says integers less than or equal to -2. So you put it on -2 and anything to its left. Anything less than or equal to -2 means -3, -4, and the arrow, meaning it continues indefinitely. The second part says or greater than +4. Greater than. It does not say equal to +4, so do not put a dot on 4. You start on 5. Put a dot on 5, on 6, on 7, and on the arrow, meaning it continues indefinitely. All the other numbers that continue on that number line will be greater than +4. So you need to shade both arrows. Now, absolute values. Find -5/8. -5/8 is, when you see these brackets, that means absolute value, is 5/8 unit from 0 in the negative direction. Whenever you have a negative inside an absolute value, it will equal the positive. -5/8 equals +5/8. This absolute value means 5/8 unit from 0 in the negative direction. The answer means that you take out that negative sign. -5/8 absolute value is +5/8. Example, 0.25, the absolute value of 0.25. 0.25 is 0.25 unit from 0 in the positive direction. There's no negative inside the absolute value, so you know it's in the positive direction. So the answer of the absolute value of 0.25 is 0.25. It stays positive. If it is positive in the absolute value, it is positive outside of the absolute value. Find each absolute value. The absolute value of 3/5. The answer is 3/5. The absolute value of -6.3. The answer is +6.3. If there's a negative sign inside the brackets, the absolute value is always the positive of that. You will never have the negative inside of the brackets and have the absolute value be a negative. Negative 6.3, the absolute value is positive 6.3. Evaluate y minus 8 plus 5 if y equals 12. Y minus 8 plus 5, y is 12. So we substitute y for 12. We see right here that there's a 12, so that equals the absolute value of 12 minus 8 plus 5. 12 minus 8 is 4. So we have the absolute value of 4 plus 5. The absolute value of positive 4 is positive 4. It stays the same. So we know that 4 plus 5 is 9. Evaluate 6 plus the absolute value of x minus 7 if x equals 3. We have x equals 3, so we substitute for this x, the 3. 3 minus 7. 3 minus 7 is negative 4. The absolute value of negative 4 is positive 4. Remember, the absolute value of a negative will always be the positive of that number. So negative 4 in brackets means the absolute value of negative 4, which is positive 4. So we get the equation 6 plus positive 4. 6 plus 4 is 10. End of lesson 2/1.